OK, let's bring you some breaking news. We're going to stay with Liverpool, and Liverpool owner John W. Henry says the commitment of Fenway Sports Group to the club remains stronger than ever.
Just on that recruitment is, what, £450 million spent, and yet we are still talking about gaping holes in that Liverpool squad. Should there be much more heat than there is on the people above?
Calls that Liverpool have made over the past 12 months. Van Dijk new contract hasn't really worked out as planned. Salah new contract definitely hasn't worked out as planned. Alexander-Arnold couldn't keep him. That's hurt the team massively. Wirtz hasn't really worked out as planned, although I think there have been signs that Wirtz is going to become good. And Isak, obviously, for various reasons, has not worked out at all. That's 5 massive calls that have effectively all gone against them, and that's where they are now.
Are Liverpool almost paying, and is Arne Slot almost paying for the fact that he did win the league last season? Because if you take this season in isolation, yes, the results haven't been great. They're in the top 4. And if he had started his Liverpool career with a fight for the Champions League places and a realistic chance of getting into the Champions League in his first season, we wouldn't be talking like this, would we?
If he'd have had this season last season, he probably wouldn't have had a second season.
You think?
Yeah, because that's how high the standards are. And obviously on the back of Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool fans were expecting a certain way of playing football, so this couldn't have been his first season. He did a fantastic job last season, honestly. We can't take that away from it. It was a hard job to follow Jurgen Klopp. I mean, if you're talking about following a legend, Arsenal struggled after Arsene Wenger, Man United, as we know, after Felix Ferguson. Arne Slot had the same task after Jurgen Klopp, with a team that a lot of us thought at the time was kind of over the hill. We talked about Van Dijk and Salah at the time, thinking, can he get more out of these players? And he did. But maybe last season was that final burst of everything from that team. You know, that was Van Dijk's best season, Salah, Robertson, etc. That was their peak. And they've now hit the wall, and Arne Slot is paying the price for that.
Hasn't he earned more than just one season, though, off the back of winning a title?
Well, no, because if the results aren't good enough and the fans don't like the football, then no, that's the modern game, isn't it? I mean, let's go back 20 years, yeah, maybe we're going to get a second season, but there's so much impatience now among supporters. And like I said with Thomas Frank's scenario, if the football isn't great and the fans don't like it and the results are also bad, then that is a lethal cocktail for any coach, especially now.
The worry for Slot is the further away Liverpool get from Klopp and that muscle memory they have, the more time Slot's had to work with them and impose his methods, the worse they get it. Over time, it's going in the wrong direction, and they said I think a lot of last year, and this is to Slot's credit, to be clear, it's not a criticism of him, but a lot of last year, you could see, as Mark said before, a lot of Klopp in that team still. You could see that the Klopp's fingerprint and the years of training and the methods were still there, and it was a nice hybrid between what Klopp was doing and what Slot brought in. But now they're moving further and further away from what Klopp did, and more towards what Slot wants, and it doesn't seem to be working at all.
I mean, if you look at go back a year, they lost at Plymouth in the FA Cup. And he obviously made a load of changes, lost at Plymouth. Liverpool fans that I speak to will say to me that was the point, that from that point on Liverpool tailed off, and the way they ended the season, they won the league, and I don't think they won another game after that. So the switch almost like was flicked a year ago, February onwards, and he's not really been able to get out of that rut, which is why they made that big investment in the summer, because the club could see that a lot of the players that were so fantastic in the first half of the season had begun to tail off. But I mean, to be fair, Sam, when you mentioned the 3 contracts that were up last summer, they couldn't afford to let 3 massive players go. They had to keep Van Dijk and Salah just for kind of the public look of it, because if you lose 3 of your biggest players, that's a massive kind of, almost like waving the white flag, isn't it? To let so many
circumstances in this defeat, in that Konate couldn't play because he's on leave due to his father's passing. Joe Gomez gets injured as well. So this is a thin squad. And this is an unbalanced squad that is being made thin due to absence and injury. There are also 2 or 3 things that Arne Slot couldn't have legislated for, prepared for. There was a 7-minute pause before Endo comes on the field to come up.
Whose fault was that?
This is an interesting one in that why are a group of Premier League winners, a team that was the best in the country not too long ago, not recognising the basics of football, which is you're down to 10 men, get the ball off the field as soon as possible. Freeze from a group of players that should know better. For this collection of players that have played this many Premier League games together and winning games together, they are making mistakes that amateurs make. And that indicates to me something isn't quite right above the shoulders.